Welcome back to Wizards Whimsies. Today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite decks, Ruric Thar. When I first got into playing Magic back in 2015, my nephew was over visiting, had a couple of 60 card decks we were playing, and he asked if we could upgrade them. So we went to a local comic shop, and lo and behold, they were having a pre-release. Well, we spent the entire weekend doing the pre-release and playing cards, and had a great time and really got sucked into Magic. Haven't really looked back since. I got into Commander shortly after. Somebody there let me borrow their Fraley's deck. It was fun to play. I automatically bought one, upgraded it to try to match the deck that he had built, and started playing that. And as time went by, I decided, I wanted something a little bit different. So I got with the owner, and we sat down and we went over and decided on Ruric Thar. Now, this deck is nasty. It can be run a little bit more efficient than what this deck list is, but again, this deck list is from 2015. So we're going to go through that. First up, we're going to go through the land base. There's 37 lands in the deck. You got seven basic forests, 7 basic mountains. You got all 7 of the fetch lands that can fetch for the colors. Probably the most expensive card in the deck is Taiga, which luckily the shop owner at the time had one, and he let me put it on a payment plan, so I was able to get that. So, if you're looking for those out of price cards, talk to your shop owners and see if they can put it on a payment plan for you. It might take a little while to pay off, but when you got the card and you have the card, you don't have to worry about it after that. Other notable cards in the mana base is Valakut. You are running something to make all your lands every basic land type, so you can remove creatures, shoot your opponents. You have Vesuva and Thespian Stage, so that you can make copies of Glacial Chasm or Valakut. But Glacial Chasm is really a key piece because it reduces all damage to 0. It has a cumulative upkeep of 2 life. So you pay 2 life, then you pay 4 life, then 6 life. You can't attack. So that's one good thing with Ruric Thar, because he has to attack if able. So if somebody has a big creature on the field and you have to attack it, they could just eat Ruric Thar. But with Glacial Chasm out, he doesn't have to attack. So that's a key card. Then you have some cycle lands where you can cycle to draw cards, to try to get some card advantage. So definitely something to look out. Other than that, Kessick Wolf Run, so that you can pump a creature, probably Ruric Thar, to where you can swing in and do some lethal damage, maybe commander damage to somebody. You got Strip Mine. Strip Mine's a great little card in this deck because you do have ways of playing multiple lands a turn, and you have ways of playing it from the graveyard, so you can strip mine your opponent's key land pieces. Let's move on to the artifacts of the deck. We have Eternity Vessel, this 6-drop. It enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, where X is your life total. Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you can have your life total become the number of charge counters on Eternity Vessel. It's a great card. Ruric Thar, you're casting non-creature spells too, so that 6 damage can add up, and you can get all that life back with just a landfall. You do have your mana rocks in the deck as well. You have a Soul Ring, Coalition Relic. Every other turn you could put a charge counter on it and get 2 mana out of it. I've Gilded Lotus, adds 3 mana of any one color. Rain Dynamo, 3 generic mana, and Gruul Signet. They help get your mana up, help it where you can cast multiple spells a turn. You have a Skull Clamp, which you can use to sack off any 1 toughness creatures you have to draw 2 cards, or if you need to buff a creature on the front end by 1, you can use it to do that as well. Sensei Divining Top, it's it's pretty much a staple on a lot of decks. It lets you look at the top 3 cards of your library. You can tap it, draw a card, then put it on top of the library. Do have Lightning Greaves in the deck. I also have Dark Steel Plate, which can equip, gives him indestructible. It's indestructible, so he can survive board wipes while dishing out that 6 damage for non-creature spells. Now, along with Crucible of the Worlds, a great card that pairs with it that's artifact is Zern Orb. Zern Orb lets you sacrifice lands and you gain 2 life for each land that you sacrifice. So you tap, add mana, sack it, replay it with a Crucible of the Worlds, tap it, sack it, and you've gained 4 life, and you still get to utilize the mana. So that's a great thing. There are some fun artifacts in the deck. You got Anka Mishra, which deals 2 damage to anyone who puts a land into play. It really adds and starts making people take damage. If they're playing fetch lands, they're taking more damage. They're taking 2 for the fetch land coming in. When they activate the fetch land, they lose a life. They go get the other land, and then they take another 2 for that land coming in. So it's the easy way to do 5 damage. One of the things that I really have fun with is Winter Orb. Seeing somebody cast a big spell or multiple spells a turn, using up all their mana, I like to drop Winter Orb. And I will drop it as soon as I have the mana available to, just to slow the game down, just to help ensure that everyone's having a wonderful time. Well, the last artifact that's in the deck is Mindslaver. Now, Mindslaver is a fun little card, but unless you have the mana to play it and then pop it and use it right away, it's a card that I would hold. I wouldn't put it on the field so that people could see it, so then they got to wonder, are they going to be the target of Mindslaver or what? Mindslaver, you pay 6, put it into play, then you got to pay 4 and sacrifice it, and then you control the target player's next turn. So the person that's going after you take their turn, and really have fun with their deck and what they're trying to do. So that's the artifact base of this deck. Now, we are running 11 sorceries in the deck. We have 3 of them that are ramp spells. We have Sylvan Scrying, Sky Shroud Claim. This lets you go get 2 forest cards, so you can get your Stomping Ground, Taiga, 2 forest, whatever you're running in your mana base that is also a forest. And then Kadama's Reach lets you go put a basic land into play tapped, and basic land into your hand. We do have a couple of return from the graveyard effects. We have Regrowth. It returns a target card from the graveyard to your hand. And there's Life for the Loam. It returns 3 target lands back to your hand. It has Dredge 3, so you can get your key lands back. You can get Glacial Chasm back. You can get your fetch. You can get Strip Mine back. It's a very, very useful card in the deck. Now, the other cards we have are Vandal Blast, which gets rid of artifacts. If you overload it, it gets rid of all artifacts except for yours. Gamble, or as I like to call it, Red Entomb. It's a search for any card, put it in your hand, and then you're taking a gamble on whether or not you're going to pitch that card into the graveyard. Me, I always pitch the card I search for in the graveyard, so in later iterations of the deck, I did actually get rid of Gamble for some other cards. Then there's Praetor's Council. It lets you get all your cards back from your graveyard, and it gives you a benefit of you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Of course, you exile it. You do need some draw. You can't just rely on Skull Clamp, so you do have Harmonize in this deck list. Harmonize lets you draw 3 cards. There's another card that lets you get rid of artifacts or enchantments. It's Hull Breach. It's a red and a green, and you can get rid of an artifact or an enchantment, or you can get rid of both. Something that's Really great to utilize, especially if you have indestructible on Ruric Thar, and that is Earthquake. It deals X damage to each creature without flying in each player. So you can pump a lot into it. If you have Glacial Chasm out or something else that's not letting your life total change, you can play this spell, and it's one of the cards that you can use to win the game. I am running two Planeswalkers in the deck. The first is Ruric Primal Hunter. He's a 5-drop Planeswalker, 2 generic and 3 green. He has a +1 of create a 3/3 green beast creature token. It's always great when you have a Planeswalker that can go ahead and put a creature out that can defend it. And it being a plus ability really helps out because he comes in with 3 loyalty. The -3 ability on him is draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Ruric Thar is a 6/6, so you can draw 6 cards with him out on the field. If you have one of your other creatures that are bigger, you can draw that many cards. So it's a great utility. Then he has a -6, which is create a 6/6 green worm creature token for each land you control. You probably want to try to keep him on the field because you are running 37 lands. So there's a good chance that you can have a lot of 6/6 worms that you can swing with on your next turn. The other Planeswalker is Ruric Wildspeaker. He's a 4-drop, 2 generic, 2 green. He comes in with 3 loyalty as well. He has a +1 untap 2 target lands. You can do multiple spells in a turn with him. You can, maybe pay for a creature that costs more than what you have available mana for. His neg 1 is put a 3/3 beast creature token onto the battlefield. And then he has a -4. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. So if you have a lot of creatures out on the field, give them that little buff, but also adding in trample, you can deal a lot of damage. This deck is running 11 enchantments. The enchantments that are included are Sylvan Library. It's a 2-drop enchantment. You may draw 2 cards. You can pay 4 life per card that you wish to keep, or you can put them back on top of your library in any order. If you need cards or you need to dig through some cards, you can pay the life. You do have ways of gaining life. Playing lands, running exploration lets you play an additional land a turn. Prismatic Omen. Lands you control have every basic land type in addition to their other types. So Glacial Chasm, you can't tap it for mana normally, but with Prismatic Omen out, it gets to tap for whatever color you need it to. It also makes every land a mountain, so you can have a lot of interaction with Valakut. Volrath's Garden. It's a 2-drop enchantment. You pay 2, tap a creature you control, and gain 2 life. You play it as a play the ability as a sorcery. What it does is it allows you to tap Ruric Thar down, so you don't have to swing him into bigger creatures or creatures that will remove them. It'll actually force them to cast their instants, sorceries, planeswalkers, whatever, to try to deal with Ruric Thar. So they'll be taking that 6 damage. Retreat to Kazandu is a life gain for the deck. It's an enchantment that has landfall. You can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or you can gain 2 life. A lot of the times you're going to be gaining the 2 life. Early rounds, you'll probably be putting the +1/+1 counters, but as the game progresses, you'll be actually using it to gain life so that you can counter Ruric Thar's 6 damage that he may be dealing to you for your non-creature spells. Primeval Bounty. This is a great enchantment. I mean, it's a 6-drop, but it does so much for that 6 mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield, or whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, or whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. Furnace of Rath. It's a 4-drop, 1 colorless, or 1 of any color, and 3 red. If a source would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double that damage. So if Ruric Thar is on the field, Furnace of Rath is on the field, and your opponents cast a spell, they'll be taking 12 damage instead of the 6. Something that really helps trigger Ruric Thar is a Possibility Storm. This 5-drop enchantment is whenever a player casts a spell from their hand, they exile that spell and they reveal cards from the top of their library until they reveal a spell that shares a type with that spell they were trying to cast. Then they may cast that spell without paying any mana. So if they're going for an instant, well, they reveal cards until they reveal another instant, and then they may choose to cast that. A lot of people forget about it's a may effect, that they may cast it, so they'll cast it, so they take 6 damage from Ruric Thar from the first spell and 6 damage for the second spell. There are some other enchantments that like to dish out some pain. One of them being Citadel of Pain. This 3-drop enchantment. At the beginning of each player's turn, Citadel of Pain deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of untapped lands they control. Power Surge is similar to Citadel of Pain. At the beginning of a player's turn, before the untap phase, the player must take a counter for each of his or her lands that is not tapped. During that player's upkeep, Power Surge deals 1 damage to that player for each counter. Manabarbs. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, Manabarbs deals 1 damage to that player. Now this deck is only running 19 creatures, but they're actually great little creatures to run. So we do have mana creatures, or creatures that can help you get mana, play more lands, things like that. So we have Yevamaya Elder. Whenever he dies, you may search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. You can also pay 2 and sacrifice them to draw a card. So it gives you card draw and search. So you sacrifice them, search, draw a card. So you're getting land, and you're also getting the draw card. You have a Azusa, Lost But Seeking. She lets you play 2 additional lands a turn. A Solemn Simulacrum, or Sad Robot. When he enters, you search for a land. When he dies, you draw a card. Then there's Oracle of Moldai. She lets you play an additional land a turn, and you can play lands from the top of your library. You play with the top of your library revealed, so the downside of that is everybody sees what you're drawing. The upside is if it's a land, you get to just play it from the top of your library. We have Fierce Empath, which lets you, when it enters, it lets you search for a creature card with mana value 6 or greater. Vornaclex, Voice of Hunger. Now this 8-drop, 7/6, he doubles your mana, and he puts a Winter Orb effect on the other players. One of my favorite cards, one of my favorite creatures in the deck, is Nullstone Gargoyle. This 9-drop, 4/5 artifact creature has flying, and whenever the first non-creature spell a turn is played, you counter it. And you got Steel Hellkite. Steel Hellkite is a great little artifact creature. Whenever he deals damage, you can pay X, and you destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage. So he deals damage to a player, you pay X, and you destroy all their non-land permanents that equal X. Platinum Imperium, he's an 8-drop, 8/8. Your life total can't change. It can't go down, can't go up. Your life total just stays wherever it's at. If you want to get some of your key cards back, well, that's why you run E-Witness. Whenever he enters, you pick a target card in your graveyard and you put it into your hand. Now, to deal with some problems, there's Acidic Slime. Acidic Slime has Death Touch. He's a 2/2. He's a 5-drop, but whenever he enters the battlefield, you can destroy a target artifact, enchantment, or land. So basically, anything that's not a creature or planeswalker. We have a Verdant Force. At the beginning of each upkeep, put a 1/1 Saproling creature token onto the battlefield. As far as card draw goes, this next one helps you draw cards. Something that people will remove as soon as possible That's a Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. This Eldrazi, he's a 12/12 with Annihilator 4, so they usually don't stick on the battlefield for very long. You're lucky if you get one swing at them. If they kill it and don't exile it, you get to shuffle your graveyard into your library. So it's a great little shuffle effect. It also protects you from mill. So it's a definitely a great add in the deck. Tidon or Terastodon. Whenever he enters the battlefield, you destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents, so you can hit anything. For each permanent destroyed with it, it creates a 3/3 green elephant creature token. Here's a tip: you don't always have to target your opponent's stuff. You can actually target some of your items and get 3/3 elephants. So if you need more creatures on the field, it's definitely something to think about. And you have Woodfall Primus. This creature has persist. So when he enters the battlefield, you destroy target non-creature permanent. When he dies, he comes back with a -1/-1 counter on him, and he gets to destroy another permanent. Now, if he has a -1/-1 counter on him when he dies, he's not going to come back. So that land base, being as important as it is, 37 lands, you have Avenger Zendikar. So when he enters, you create a 0/1 green plant creature token equal to the number of lands that you control. So he's one of those cards that the later you can play him, the better. And then landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 on each plant creature you control. So if you're playing cards from your graveyard and making multiple landfalls a turn, those little 0/1 plant creature tokens get big fast. Or if you need to sack them off with a Skull Clamp to draw cards, you can do that as well. Hoarding Dragon, he's a 5-drop 4/4. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card, exile it, then shuffle your library. When he dies, you may put the exile card into your hand. So, as long as he dies, you get that card that you went and searched. So, probably a little bit better than Gamble or Red Entomb. It's definitely a card so that you can go get your Crucible of the Worlds, Platinum Imperium, since those are artifacts as well. It can also get you this next card, Wormcoil Engine. Wormcoil Engine's a 6-drop 6/6 that has Death Touch and Lifelink. And when he dies, he creates a 3/3 Lifelinker and a 3/3 Death Toucher. So it's pretty much all value with him. Last card, created all those tokens with the different cards, Avenger Zendikar, and you need a way to swing in and go for the win. Well, that's where Craterhoof comes in. You drop Craterhoof down, he has haste, and when he enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get +X, where X is the number of creatures that you control. So he is your game ender. So that is my build for Ruric Thar from 2015. I've played him multiple versions since, including CEDH, which can be pretty nasty and pretty fast. I never thought I'd be playing Ruric Thar on turn 1, potentially. So he's definitely a versatile commander. If you haven't used him, take a look at him. He's fun to play with, and if you like making players salty, he's definitely a salt commander. I would definitely rank him up pretty high, as a matter of fact. So, let me know what you think about this deck build. And like I said, let me know what some of your favorite cards to pair with. You keep slinging those spells, and I'll see you next time on Wizards Whimsy.